Oh, okay.
Well, that's fine.
Sit right here at that mic.
I'll run this
Sit in
one?
front of that one. Okay, get the mics on here. That's the first question.
Guys, thanks for the time today. Antonio, this is the first time we've been able to talk to you since word broke of what's been happening with the recruiting issue. And just want to know your take on it with the three coaches that are out right now, your message to them, and kind of where the program stands right now.
Good. It's real simple. I don't got no comment on it. Obviously, you know what's going on. And we're working on with the guys that we got here and the coaches we got here.
Have you spoken to the three coaches that are on leave right now, and what's your message to those guys?
Yeah, my message is we're just focused on the Sun Devils right now.
Hi, Antonio Hodrobino, Devil's Digest. Jordan Banks had like an interesting path of development, maybe a slow start, but over here in fall camp, I think maybe turned the corner, getting some rest of the defensive line. Can you talk about his development, his progress?
Yeah, Jordan Banks, dynamic player. Obviously, we watched him in high school, did a good job coming off the edge. Got a lot of linebackers that came back with experience. So we're trying to find out ways to get our guys on the field. And Jordan Banks, he adds a ability to rush the passer, and we want to utilize that. Coach Rob does a great job with those defensive linemen and DN, so we think he can help us in that case.
Antonio, Michael Carrasino, believe in Pac-12 football. Overall defense, obviously it's been talked about a lot, what's coming back, but all three levels is talking to the guys. How do you feel the communication and the chemistry is with first team, second team, just the group as a whole?
Yeah. The accountability is amazing. I mean, they hold each other accountable. They police themselves. The chemistry is, you're talking about, let's start with the linebackers. Those guys have now played together for three years together. They understand one another. They got a good feel. The D line, give or take a player or two, but between Matus, DJ, and Tyler, they played together now here 4 to 5 years. And that secondary, we all this in the country, right? Very mature group. So they get it. Very mature leader-based unit. And they've done an outstanding job in camp of really taking on every challenge that's been thrown at us.
Well, I got to follow up real quick. How do you feel that they've, obviously the younger guys coming in, some were here in the spring, obviously a full spring, but just the younger guys, how have they taken to them, and how have I heard Chase say last week, take somebody's job. So how have the young guys responded to him?
They've done good. We don't believe in red shirting. We allow guys to compete and give them the opportunity. And if they keep, making plays, they earn that next opportunity. They got to do, especially as a coach Slocum, and that's the first thing where they got to start off. They got to, first of all, the starting defense ain't the guys that run out there. It's that kickoff unit. And we pride ourselves on being a great special teams unit. There's a lot of defensive players on there, so they understand that. That's how they earn their first strike. And obviously, as they gain more trust and understanding of the defense, they'll get more reps to the defense.
Maybe not to hammer this point, but everybody that's been allegedly tied to the investigation that's been put on leave, your first year as defensive coordinator, are you concerned about your status?
Nope.
Not at all.
As recruiting coordinator, Antonio, do you feel a sense of responsibility for the investigation, the inquiry, whatever word is used to describe it?
I have no comment on that.
Antonio, can you, Chris Cartman, Son of a Source, can you compare how you feel about this defense now versus a year ago or 2 years ago and just the overall trajectory?
Older, wiser, talkative, I think determined, eager. Obviously, 4 games was just a tease. And I think these guys have taken a lot of pride on playing 12 games, earning the right for a 13th game and possibly a 14th game. And we're going to take it one game by one. Southern Utah, big challenge for us, regardless of what anybody wants to say, because you know what the underline is going to be, right? It's a game that you can get slept on and make some mistakes. But I think this group has taken every day, every challenge thrown in front of us, coaching staff included, and done an outstanding job with it. And we've taken it, like Coach Edwards said, day by day and just win the day.
Is there anything, AP, is there anything in particular that you're still waiting to see or learn about this defense that's going to be a clue to you about their readiness?
You know, the thing about training camp, you try to limit guys' reps. So we've been trying to take care of our older guys. Give or take, they get anywhere from 30 to 40 snaps, you know, in practice. Then you got to go out there in the heat, you know, on a Thursday night and play Southern Utah, and you're looking probably 70, 80 plays and how they handle that, how they handle adversity, you know, giving up a big play and bouncing back and not moving on to another period, you know, just got to continue that drive. So I think for us, the critical thing is just going out there and doing it for 4 quarters. The good part about it, we have a lot of depth that we feel really good about at certain positions, and we're excited to see those guys play.
Coach Slocum, speaking of special teams, how do you feel the battle for, I mean, returning? Obviously, Coach said first thing kickoff, kick return, but how's the battle for returning going?
For our returner,
For kick returners,
returners?
punt returners, yeah.
you
sorry.
know, fortunately, we've done a really good job in recruiting a number of guys that have quite a bit of ability doing that. And so we're more than likely going to play more than one guy, and it's our deep returner. And if you look at the group of guys we've got out there right now, we've got a bunch of guys that have skill in returning the ball, whether or not they're the deep guy or up shorter than he is. And so the battle's good. If you had to identify one guy, DJ obviously coming off the recognition from last year is doing a really good job. And we've got, you know, Rashad White's really good at it. And we got, you know, Chase Lucas is involved in the return game now and some of our best players. So we should be impactful in that area.
Hi, Sean Hoderbino, Devil's Digest. The timetable for punter Eddie Szaplinski obviously has been moved up. I mean, we think about the punter in 2022. Now he's going to be the starting punter. Just talk about how he's handled this transition and maybe expedited timetable in being a starting punter.
I'll say this, he is a young man that's a little more mature than his age. His training over the last 4 years out of North Carolina, he trains with actually a lot of pro free agents and college players. So the stage is not too big for him. I initially thought with Michael Turk being here that he would come in and compete to be the kicker because he can do all three, kick off and punt. And with Michael leaving and that position being open, he's jumped in there. And if you saw practice today, I don't think you guys saw that period, but he had a really good period. He's got a good leg and he's going to be a good player for us.
Hey, Coach Pierce, Jack Loader, House of Sparky. You mentioned the age and experience of that secondary and the whole defensive unit, and that's in contrast in a lot of ways to the youth of the offensive unit. How do you think those guys can learn from going up against your older defensive unit in practice every day?
Well, I think it goes hand in hand. You know, Zach and that offense has done an outstanding job of giving us multiple looks, personnels, formations, really challenges mentally. And that's the best thing you get out of training camp. You know, we're not in that mode no more of beating up on one another. It's more about the mental aspect of the game. And I think it goes hand in hand. I think, you know, there's days where, you know, those two running backs, really three, I mean, that's hard to handle. I ain't gonna lie. They got some packages that they're throwing at us that I'm like, okay, we're stopping it. I think, you know, we're not tackling. I think we tagged off. But in the game, you got to get those big backs down, and Jaden's done an outstanding job of commanding the offense, really doing a good job picking up our pressures as well. So they're getting better. You can see it from week 1 where obviously I thought the defense was getting after them a little bit, and week 2 we had to get after the defense a little bit because the offense got after us. So that was good.
Antonio, with Herman's talked about being flexible this year and being adaptable, and with some coaches being out on leave right now, can you tell us what has been your message to the team about moving forward?
I mean, it's what Coach Edwards has always been about, next man up. You know, that's the NFL mentality. That's a pro model, next man up, be ready. No coach or analyst or GA that's in our building is not there just to sit there. They're waiting for their opportunity, and when it's been called, they have stepped up. They've done a good job. And obviously, Donnie, on the defense side of the ball, I'm learning from him. You know, he's been a coordinator longer than I've ever even probably played football and coached combined. So I can't have enough experience or knowledge around me. I mean, that's really important for me. Having Marvin Lewis still in the room, very critical to our team and our success.
Hey, AP, Zach Keenan, DevilsDigest.com. We keep hearing over and over from members of the offense that they all believe this defense is the hardest defense they'll go up against in the Pac-12. Do you believe that too?
No. We haven't played the game yet. It's practice. We know the plays now. It's different. Year 1 with Zach, we didn't know what he was doing. Now we can figure it out. So, no, listen, man. At the end of the day, it's a lot of great hype, and that's a compliment to the guys that we have here, the coaches that we have here. But until we do it on the grass on Thursday night, it doesn't matter.
Hey, Coach Slocum, specifically regarding punt return, have you been working out DJ Taylor in that role? And if not, can you expand a little bit on who else has been seeing reps there?
Yeah, well, like I said, it's a similar group as the kickoff returners. Rashad White, Chase Lucas, DJ is definitely a factor there. And LV Bunkley is also going to be a factor. So it's a good problem to have. And you'll likely see more than one guy out there.
For Coach Slocum, Zach Keenan, still with Devil's Digest. Could you explain a little more about what makes DJ Taylor such a special weapon?
Speed. Speed. It's that simple. He gets the ball on a track and outruns the pursuit.
For either of you guys, when talking to the players, they've been preaching family and brotherhood. So I just want to know from you guys, what does this team mean to you coming in, putting so much time away from your own families? So what does this team mean to you?
Go ahead. I think it always starts with that. If you're going to have a winning culture and a championship culture, it starts within the building. These guys have believed in it. They worry about what's in the building, not anything outside the building. We trust one another. There's respect for one another. We talked about building that foundation on defense, and we do it every day. And I think the key thing about it, you can't worry about anything that's going on outside. You have to control what you can control. All right. Take care. All right, guys. All right.
Henry Hattis will be in here in just a minute. Henry Hattis. Over there, that seat. You have a mask.
No. Thank you.
Get the other mic. Keep it over on that side. So I don't back and forth. Set up in the back. Zach?
Hey, Henry, I'm Zach. I work for DevilsDigest.com. In my years, at least, being in Tempe, usually there's some question marks surrounding the offensive line. But this year, for the first time in a while, it seems like there aren't any. Can you speak to the strength of this year's O-line?
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty tight group. I feel like we've come a long way since last year. There were a lot of new faces, kind of with me and Kellen coming in, and Ben Scott kind of getting his first year of acclimation. And now kind of we all have that kind of chemistry and that unity that we've built over the offseason that's really kind of come together. And you can really see it in practice now, starting to come together. It was a little slow the first couple of days, but now we're really starting to play like a unit, which is really exciting.
Yeah, and Henry, I mean, talking about playing as a unit, I mean, we just talked obviously to AP going up against that defense. Obviously, the defensive line trying to get the best. It seems like in the beginning of practice, like Coach said, when practice first starts, they kind of have the advantage. But how have those battles been going, and how has it helped the O-line as a group?
I mean, it's been great. I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but I think that we have one of the best D lines and front sevens in the Pac-12. So the age-old saying, iron sharpens iron, and I think that's really been the case for us. I mean, you've seen guys like in our second string coming a long way, going against those guys too. And I think that's really making us kind of come together and us have to really hone in on our skills so that way we can improve on what we need to improve on.
Henry, Chris Carmen, Son of a Source. Can you walk us through the timeline and the nature of your leg injury from Stanford through last year and then this year and how you're feeling now?
Yeah, I mean, so it's been kind of a long road for me. Obviously, I broke my leg. It was like October of my last year at Stanford in 2019. That was like about a 6-month recovery before, or it was about a 4-month recovery before I could actually start walking on it and rehabbing on it. And that's kind of around the timeline around March and April when COVID hit. So we got sent home and I wasn't able to do any rehab with any trainers or anything. It was all at-home workouts and things like that. So obviously it wasn't ideal. I couldn't make any excuses though. So I had to work with what I had. And luckily I was able to get out here a little early in the summer and work on some stuff. And I don't think I was at where I needed to be last year. So I'm very, very grateful that the NCAA let us come back for another year of COVID. I think that was really beneficial for guys, especially in my circumstance, as well as other guys like Kellen had surgery too, and he's kind of coming back now too. But I feel like I'm the best I've ever been right now, and I'm really looking forward to the season.
Henry, how do you feel also the communication and just the chemistry with the O-line? I mean, you be in your spot, but just how everybody is adapting to each other and how far you guys have come along as a group?
Oh, I mean, every single day we're getting better. We're getting, like I said, that chemistry and that unity that's so crucial on the offensive line. I think it all starts kind of in the center with Donovan. He's able to communicate out, and we're echoing those calls to the tackles. Personally, I feel like on the right side with me and Ben Scott have really come a long way since last year. And I think that we're really starting to work on some double teams and pick up some stunts a lot better than we were last year. So that's really exciting, especially for a guy in my position. And then on the left side, I think with the guy as dominant as Kellen and LD has that experience now, it's really starting to shape together well.
Yeah, just to follow up, in what ways do you feel like you're a lot further ahead now than last year in terms of like things that you can actually do on the field or how it feels?
Like personally?
Yeah.
I mean, just my mobility wise, I feel like my strength has kind of remained consistent. I mean, my foot speed has just come such a long way. So being able to ankle mobility and knee mobility too were the two biggest things I needed to work on. And I'm very grateful for the strength staff and Coach Joe for getting me back to where I need to be. Speed wise, I mean, I'm pretty much back to 100%. I'd say I was probably like 70% last year. So I'm really excited. I think you guys are going to see some really, really good things out of me this year.
Why was ASU the place for you to go?
I mean, there were a lot of things that went into it. I kind of wanted a fresh start after the injury at Stanford. And I don't know if you guys know, but Casey Tucker kind of did the same thing that I did. He was 2 years before me at Stanford. He grad transferred here. He was really influential on my decision to come here. He said he loved it. Coach C, I had a good relationship with him and the guys when I came on my visit. And then also it was a lot closer to home too. And my family is really important to me. And I'm looking forward to that, have them at every game this year.
And then Coach Pierce had talked about just with the negative headlines and the recruiting inquiry, the thought is to keep things kind of in-house and worry about that. How is that message getting, I guess, told to the team? How are you guys kind of moving forward?
I think the team's receiving it really well. I mean, we're focused on football. That's really what we're here to do. We kind of zone out all that other noise and we just come to practice and work. And it's easy when you have guys that are so motivated and we have leaders like Chase and like Case, Hattis, who can really kind of get the team motivated and focused on football because at the end of the day, that's why we're here. We're not here for any of the other drama or anything like that. So, yeah.
And Henry, I know you're supposed to obviously be blocking for him, but I mean, these running backs, I mean, you guys know you have to obviously you need to make your blocks, as we all know, and like hold them. But I mean, is there times where you're supposed to be blocking, you just kind of look and you're amazed with what they're able to do?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I even include Jaden in that list too, for just guys who are able to make plays out of nothing. Especially for an offensive line, I think we're getting to the point where we're going to handle what we need to handle up front and be able to get those guys on opportunities where they have one-on-ones with safeties. And I think that's going to be the most exciting thing for us this season. I mean, like at Stanford, I played with guys like Christian McCaffrey and Bryce Love, and those guys were very exciting. And I think that you're going to see a lot of similarities out of our backs this year too.
Michael kind of covered mine, so I'm good.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, thank you guys.
You didn't mention your sister.
Did you know her?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.